Hello Hanji what's up people? Back with another video, and today we're going to break down the Ipswich Town summer transfer window. Before we get into anything, like I say each and every video, if you haven't already or if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the like button on this video, just a little thumbs up there, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. All of that helps with the YouTube voodoo, with all the algorithms, and helps us grow this channel to more and more people. And if you want to support the channel, you can by using the Ko-Fi link that's in the description below. And as you know by now, this channel is supported by Angel Care Homes, by Mark Darcy, and of course the Desi Borders. Now let's get to it then. So it's been one of the busiest transfer windows in town's history. Probably up there next to that demolition window with Cookie back in, what was that, 3 or 4 years ago now. Obviously, some big names have left the club. We've had some record signings and some record sales. And what does that mean for Kieran McKenna's Ipswich Town? Well, let's just have a look at where we were last season. So last season, obviously, our first season back in the Prem after 22 seasons away. We finished 19th. First part of the season, we did, well, I'd say we were in a lot of games. We had some good performances. But I think that little extra golfing class between Championship and Premier League did end up showing. You know, any mistake we made was punished with the goal. And I think it was well over 30, 35 points, maybe more, how many points we dropped. So then if we look at the squad we had, we'll put that up on the screen now. Obviously, the ones in red were on loan. So we knew that, unlikely to keep them. But you can see a lot of squad depth there. Players, at least 2 players in each position. But as the season went on, it did become abundantly clear that there was a lack of depth up top. So, the Hurst and the Lap thing, we desperately needed another striker. Maybe our naivety in the previous window had shown. And the midfield as well, we weren't really clicking. We had, Morsey had some good performances. Thought Kayus performed well. But I think Phillips, Taylor, and even Matt, to a point, they were just off it. So they weren't really showing that they could compete at the highest level. So then as the window was opening, we knew that there were certain players that were going to go and certain players that were looking at leaving. In fact, let's put this other graphic up here. So this graphic here shows us all the exits basically. So the yellows are people that left in the end and we thought would probably leave. The reds were obviously loanies as well. So they're only here for the season. In terms of the names, I mean, let's have a look at it, right? So, Muric, I think it was, I don't think any fan or even in his camp, the right decision for him to go out on loan. Spent a bit of dough on him. Is there a keeper there? Yes. There's an argument to say, actually, he's probably the best keeper to suit the style of football that McKenna likes. But obviously, he's out on loan in Italy now. Slicker obviously was always on the peripherals, hadn't really had his chance, so he's gone out to continue his development at Barnet. Burgess, these two were disappointing to lose because Burgess, I thought he had a really solid couple of years. Every time he's come into the team, he's looked, well at his level. Looking at when he first signed for us and that game against Cambridge away where he got bullied by, what was the lad's name? Ironside, was it? No time would a fan would have thought that Burgess would go on to be as good as he was in the end. And the fact we couldn't sign him down for another deal was disappointing. But yeah, Burgess obviously went on a free transfer, eventually signed for Swansea. Twanzebe, another player we couldn't agree a deal with. So again, he went on a free transfer and is now at Burnley. Luongo as well, another player we knew before the West Ham game he wouldn't be staying, so we got to kind of give him his ovation and show our appreciation as fans at the West Ham game. And now he's picked up a contract with Millwall. I think he's already open scoring there as well. And then we knew obviously with Delap, we knew he actually got sold before the transfer window started in that, what do they call it, that little PSR window or whatever. So he went for the 30 million to Chelsea, which, we all could see that happening. Hutchinson as well, there was that 35 million release clause, ended up getting for 37.5 and he's gone to Forest. Just a fee on that, it's a record fee for us as a club. Game Changer bought this club 4 years ago for £40 million, and the fact that we've sold one player for almost that same change shows you, how far we've progressed as a club. And then obviously you then had Brody that went to Wrexham for, I think it was 7.5 million. You've then had Wolfie, who's gone to Coventry for about 4 million. Chaplin gone back on loan to Portsmouth for the season. And then Sam Morsey, man, gone on it was a free transfer to Al Kuwait, and he's playing out there. So with all these players going and all these changes, it left us quite light going into this season. So if we have a look at our squad now or before the signings, that was effectively what our squad was looking like. So apart from 3 positions there or 4 positions, we didn't have cover. And in some cases, if we look at my midfield, we had one recognised midfielder. Now I know Humphreys was out on loan and he's come back. But it was a thing where you had to say, okay, we want stability, but we do need some players. Now, with 11 players leaving and 14 players signing, I'm not sure that's the right stability. So then if we have a look at who we've signed now, so this window, it has been a busy window. What has been 11 in, 14 out or something like that. So we've obviously we start at the back. So Palmer's been our number 1. We've got Walton then. We brought in Button as a bit of a coaching / third choice role. We brought in Kipre as well. I've put him at the right side here as cover for O'Shea. The reality is he is a right-footed left centre-back, so his strongest position would be on the left. I've got opinions on what my first 11 would be, and it would be him and O'Shea in that centre-back pairing. But that's a conversation for another day. We then obviously brought in Ashley Young. He's done, a bit of leadership, and I think he's doing a bit of coaching as well. Brought in Darnell Furlong as well. Got, very much like Leaf, gets a lot of assists from that fullback role. I've put a little star next to Townsend because although we do have him, he is out for the season, so we don't actually have that cover on left back. Although Young and Harry Clark can play there as well. Then we signed Kayust. Obviously, we've got him on loan, but we've re-signed him on loan. Hopefully, if we go up, we get to keep him this time. We've got Matisuwa, who's been a bit more of that enforcer. He stepped straight into Sammy's shoes to kind of pick up what Sammy did. Nunes, there was lots of tears up in Norwich and Norfolk and all the rest of it, but Nunes finally playing for the pride of Anglia. Akpom, a player that we were kind of chasing before, and then obviously chasing again at the beginning of the summer. Bit of to and a fro in between us and Birmingham. And then obviously we got Azon, who we signed recently as well on loan. Young striker, had a good little cameo when he come off the bench against Derby. And on the right wing, we got that Wally Ageli, who's the young Norwegian lad on the right wing. Record transfer for him. And Casey McAteer, who was signed for Leicester. Again, very young, bit raw, but looks like a bright signing. So let's look at the exits then. Like I said, I just broke it down there, but let's get in a bit of detail. So the Amari Hutchinson, let's start with that one because that is the record sale. So Amari Hutchinson, 37.5 million. Thank you very much. And look, I know there's been a lot of people who have said, oh, well, he didn't leave in the right way, this, that, or the other. I mean, he did play the friendly against Charlton. I've talked enough about the Amari Hutchinson situation. If you didn't know my thoughts on it, obviously, I rate Amari and I wish him the best of luck. And look, like I said, we've got £37.5 million for a player that we have only had for 2 seasons. He's only been playing men's football for 2 seasons as well. And, not so long ago, that game changer 20 bought Ipswich Town for £40 million. So record signing, money in the bank. Delap, obviously, we knew that Delap was going. I think McKenna, I remember McKenna and that was saying they were letting Liam talk to other clubs in April after the Newcastle relegation was confirmed, or the relegation when we played Newcastle away. So Delap, had been looking to go, and I know that, Town were trying to look to kind of sign him to another deal and get rid of that release clause and maybe sell him for a bit more, but, Liam's going to do what's right for him. And obviously he ended up signing for Chelsea. I think he's out injured at the moment, but £30 million there. Again, big bit of money. So between 2 players, you've almost got 70 million quid in the bank. Not shabby at all. Nathan Broadhead, a player that's got 1 year left on his contract, to get £7.5 million guaranteed. I know there's talks about it being up to 10 or maybe 11 million, but let's just talk about the guarantee. To get £7.5 million up for him guaranteed was a good bit of business. So we've got that there as well. The Wolfenden deal, I think that was a bit. I think we're a bit naive in our approach there. So, Wolfenden had this interest from Coventry since January, from what I've understood. Um, he's a homegrown player. He's an academy player. And if we look at all this kind of PSR stuff, the profitability and sustainability rules, which is all about financial fair play and how much wiggle room and how much losses you can make. When it comes to academy players and homegrown players, they're what you call 100% profit. So anything you sell him for is 100% profit. So £4 million for me, I think we could have squeezed close to 8. We could have maybe even got 6 or something, but obviously, as people know, I live in Cov. I know a lot of Cov City fans as well, and some of the lads that I play football with, all Cov City fans, and they're all chomping at the bit and can't believe how they've got a player that played in the Premier League, an English homegrown talent, for such a cheap fee. So, like I said, a bit of naivety there, but I do respect that they've let him go so he can play football. And Morsey as well, like letting him go was just, I get it, because there's conversations, people saying, look, if we went back up, would Morsey be in the Premier League with us because of his age and all the rest of it? I still argue saying that he could, because I think if you look at last season in the Premier League, it's no coincidence that we started to tail off when Sammy was out of the team. So when McKenna started experimenting with different players, then it was no coincidence that the results didn't follow. But yeah, him going out to Al Kuwait just seemed like a very silly decision, especially when you're talking about your captain, and especially when you're talking about, you are now breaking up along with him, along with Chaplin, along with Burgess, with Wolfie, with not necessarily Delap, but with Broadhead. You're breaking up that band of brothers that got you back-to-back promotions. These players are gods amongst men for us, and the fact that we could very easily break up the squad without any issues is a concern. But that's football. It's ruthless, unfortunately. Now, we've made the best part of almost £80 million just on player sales there before we even touch the parachute payments. So it is very good business. But like I said, it's more than just money, and we've seen that at the beginning of the season so far. We've said bye to a band of brothers. We've said goodbye to heroes, to our academy lads, big names, some people that, we sing about from the terraces. That League One promotion season, that whole summer was the Broadhead song. Then it was the Morsey and McKenna's men. And we don't have that anymore. In fact, we need some more chance, because everyone we sing about ain't even on the pitch anymore. But yeah, it's a changing of the guard almost, and it is emotional. It is a bit concerning because, and this is just me and my opinion, I don't think that some of these players that are there now and players that possibly signed last summer and are here now, I don't think they get what it means to play for Ipswich Town. I don't think they play for the badge or have been playing for the badge. I think they're there for the wage. And if a deal comes from in January, they'll be off. No matter, even if we're pushing to go top 2, their priority is themselves, not the bigger picture. This band of brothers, these heroes that we had, they were together. They were together on the pitch. They brought us fans together as well. They brought the ownership, the community, the whole Ipswich Town as a club and fan base. It was such a nice place to be. But now it just feels that we've got rid of players that, like I say, were heroes, and we've brought in some big name signings. Last season, some of those players that got us there to the Premier League didn't get their chance. And if I'm there, those players, I would feel disrespected as well, that you're not being played. Instead, these big name signings are being played just because we spent the money on the wages or whatever. But look, at the end of the day, it's time for new heroes. It's the changing of the guard, and the business has been good in the window. I would have liked to see maybe another striker sign and maybe another midfielder, but we made a record transfer for the Norwegian wonder kid Wally Egeli. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a winger, plays out on the right. We spent, was it about £19 million, I think we spent on him. Record transfer for us. We signed obviously Casey McAteer from Leicester for I think about 12 million quid that was. Again, very raw player. Reminds me about like when Amari first signed for us. I think he needs to maybe get the strength there as well, but he looks very raw and very good. Matisuwa, who had a bit of a slow start, but looks to be, really, really forming partnerships. I really like the partnership with Kayust against Derby, and he looks like a real physical player. Um, a good replacement for Morsey. In an ideal world, you'd like to have him and Morsey playing together so we could learn from him and then get the proper, passing of the guard, so to speak. But yeah, he looks like a proper anchor and engine room guy. Nunes, Marcelino Nunes from Norwich. Gotta love that signing. I mean, did we overpay? Possibly, but look, it's worth it just to see those Norwich tears, isn't it? So got him in. He obviously plays, so it'd be a kind of between him, Kayust, and Matasuwa, I think, in those two central midfield positions. And then we've added some depth as well. So we brought in Kipre, who again I think he should be starting. But we brought in Kipre. We've obviously brought in Kayust as well. Like I said, we brought in Ashley Young. Furlong, I'd like to see him. I think he's probably going to be our starting right back going forward. He looks like a good player. Shout out Darnell Furlong as well, friend of Mark Darcy. If you didn't know about Mark Darcy, you should by now. For all your formal menswear, make sure you tap into Mark Darcy. Link for them is in the description. Akpom, who we bought again, number 10, he looks very good. But I guess he can play a bit of a number 10/striker. McKenna likes those kind of versatile players. And obviously we had quite a battle with Birmingham to try and get him. I think we hijacked their deal, didn't we? So he looks good. Ivo Azon, the young Spanish lad who we got on loan from Como. So there is a lot of good players there and a lot of talent on paper, but that's just it. It's talent on paper, and on paper we've got a team that should be competing for top two, but football ain't played on paper, and the start we've had has been poor. Let's not beat around the bush. I did say before the Birmingham game, I said, look, as long as we don't lose before the international break, I'll take that. We'll have all our bodies in the door by then hit the Sheffield United game and then get 3 points and start building from there. We've had a few step backs, and I think, certainly the Derby game we should have won. I think it's just poor defending again. I'll get onto Dar O'Shea, captain, in a minute, because I've got some thoughts on him. But it's just one of those where on paper, this is the difference between individual talent and togetherness as a team. The team that got us promoted, the team that got us back-to-back promotions and promotion to the Premier League, on paper are nowhere near as strong as the team that we currently have. But the team that got us back-to-back promotions, they win that game against Derby 3-2. They win that Preston game. They win that Birmingham game. Hell, they would have won all 4 games. They would have found a way to do it. There's that, never say die attitude. That whole thing that we had on the back of the shirts, running to adversity. I don't even know if some of these new players can spell adversity. And that's a concern. Players before would run through a brick wall for McKenna. I'm not sure whether this new group of players is quite there yet. So then in terms of predicted lineups and what that looks like, so this would be my, this is what I think we'd have as lineup or whatever. Obviously we go with the 4-2-3-1. I mean, we could go with a 4-3-3 at some aspects, but I think it'd be the normal 4-2-3-1, and you'll have Davis on the left, Furlong on the right. It's going to be interesting who that midfield pairing is, because obviously Jens just looks like, different level at this level anyway. It looks too easy for him. And Matisuwa, I don't think we have another player like Matisuwa anyway. So we need to play him as that kind of defensive anchor. And Nunes has got that creativity, so it's going to be kind of interesting to see how they all get a bit of game time and stuff like that. Obviously, attacking is McAteer and Ageli, are they upgrades on Hutchinson? Time will tell. We're not too sure yet. And then Azon, between Azon and Hurst, can they provide the goals that not even at the lap had, but like Kiefer Moore had for us? Do you know what I mean? That last part of the season. Are they going to be doing that? I do think we've lost a bit of aerial presence in our defensive side. I know Jacob Greaves is good in the air as well, but I think Burgess just was phenomenal. I think 100% on all his aerial duels and most of his games. Wolfie was really good on ground duels as well. I'm not sure whether O'Shea and Greaves are at that level. I also think just on O'Shea, I think the captaincy is weighing a bit on him because the player we saw last season in the Premier League looked very comfortable as a defender, could defend well, and was vocal. This season, he seems to be very quiet. You know, the many times that we've conceded goals last couple of seasons. Maybe I'm being a bit biased because Sammy's my boy and that, but I'd see Sammy getting into the players and grilling them. I think I've only seen O'Shea get to Palmer once. And he hasn't done anything else this season. It's normally hands on hips and a sigh or whatever, and I don't even hear him talking on the pitch, which is a bit annoying. The amount of times that Palmer has come for a ball that O'Shea could have headed or vice versa because they're just not talking. I mean, that's embarrassing. So there are concerns about that unity and that togetherness. But it should change, right? There should be some green shoots. What was they used to call it? Marcus Evans used to call it, yeah? Should be some green shoots soon. And I'm hoping that, over this international window, obviously the players will be reporting back for training on the Wednesday. So you got Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday evening's the game. So, let's see, because it is going to be a tough game against Sheffield United. I know they haven't won, but it's Ipswich Town, man. Anytime a club needed a result, they used to come to Ipswich anyway and get it. So, have we got the depth for 46 games? Yes, we have. Bit bizarre, we got 4 right backs and 1 fit left back now, but I guess Harry Clark and Ashley Young can cover there anyway. The concern is just, do we have the unity? Do we have the chemistry, the cohesion there? That's not there at the moment. And I know it's only 4 games, but teams are winning, and the gap is just getting bigger and bigger. And look, I know that top 6 it's realistic, but if we don't go top 2, then surely is that a failure? For the money we've spent building this championship team and all the rest of it, and it's the recruitment for this season happened last season, then not being able to break the top 2, I think that's a bit of a failure. Although if we finish 6th and go up in the playoffs, then everyone will be happy, won't they? So in terms of transfer window and the grading and the signing of it, I think the signing of Ashley Young was a really good signing. I think it adds leadership that we were lacking. I'm not happy with Morsey and Chaplin going, because I think those were leaders that bled blue and they knew what it was like to play for the badge. But yeah, Wally Igley, I think that's a really good signing. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He looks like a top talent, and I know was it the Danish league or whatever Norwegian league he was in. I know it's a different level, so it'd be interesting to see what he's like. But he's got, he comes with a high ceiling potential. He comes with a big reputation, so he looks to be good. I think Matisuwa looks really good. He looks like a really good signing, so want to see how he gets on. And Akpom, really, really interested to see how he gets on. Top goal scorer in the championship last time he was in this league, so hopefully he can continue that. But I think there are some really good signings that we've made. I just think we're missing the leadership and we're missing that chemistry on the pitch. I don't know, maybe they need to do like a team night out or something, or whatever, or go on holiday or something. I don't know. There's another international break coming up in another 4 weeks. But we've now got to pick up those wins. So now, like I said, it's just a case of trying to get that chemistry, trying to get that cohesion and kicking on, because if we don't start picking up points now, something has to be said. And look, not McKenna, but Ashton and Luke Wearing, they know what they're doing. Obviously, they've been in this game a long time. If they feel that, this is the right way to do it, to rip up the squad and rebuild a new squad, then so be it. We just got to make sure that we don't end up going down that Watford route, where you got a high turnover of players, and you never really get back to where you want to go, because you're just looking at names on a paper. You're not looking at chemistry and cohesion. But like I said, Ashley Young adds leadership. I think O'Shea, when he gets going, he'll add the leadership as well. I think, Hursty as well, he's quite vocal on the pitch, so that helps. Like to see what Jens brings to it, because I think he got quite vocal last season, so I think he could be another potential leader in that dressing room. But it's just about, if we do get a couple of wins and then we hit a bit of a sticky patch, how are we going to overcome that and what will happen from there. But out of 10, I would give this transfer window a solid 6. So yeah, man, hopefully this added a bit more of insight on our transfer window and all the rest of it. I'm doing another video reacting to Mark Ashton and Kieran McKenna's interview, which they did with the club and Matt Holland the other day. So look out for that. And then we'll be doing a Sheffield United preview as well. And yeah, man, I'll catch you all next time. See you later, peeps.